We start with the chaotic reality of the operating room. A surgeon extracts a fresh tissue mass. The treatment plan hinges on knowing what it is. Contrast that raw extraction with the final product, a perfectly stained, stable cellular structure under the precise focus of a microscope. Between the operating room and the microscope lies a complex sequence of steps. Transforming raw tissue into a diagnostic slide requires high volumes of hazardous biological and chemical processing. You cannot simply buy expensive diagnostic equipment, drop it into an available hospital wing, and call it a pathology lab. It must function as a highly engineered manufacturing pipeline, built specifically to contain severe biological and chemical hazards at every step. The World Health Organization outlines a strict structural framework for establishing these critical environments in healthcare settings. The physical architecture of a successful laboratory must be derived entirely from strict workflow sequencing. You do not fit the workflow into an empty room. You build the rooms around the workflow. The first structural requirement is geographic. The lab needs rapid physical accessibility to the operating room to allow for fast intraoperative consultations while a patient is still in surgery. Before any specialized equipment can be installed, baseline utilities must be secured. A pathology lab requires continuous, uninterrupted electrical supply and robust backup systems to prevent critical failures mid-process. The physical envelope of the space itself matters. Walls, ceilings, and floors must be constructed from seamless, non-porous materials designed to resist biohazardous spills and withstand aggressive cleaning. With the physical shell built, the floor plan is dictated by unidirectional specimen workflow. This is a spatial strategy designed specifically to prevent the backflow of contamination. This schematic from the WHO guidelines illustrates the required layout. Notice the clear separation of the boxed areas. Each box represents a segregated zone, designed to isolate a unique phase. The workflow moves from top left, down, and across to the right. Utilities provide the necessary power, but only a rigid spatial floor plan ensures that power is supporting a process where specimens never encounter their own contaminants. To translate that schematic into physical space, we start with the reception and accessioning node. This is the initial specimen intake point. Because administrative staff operate here, the architecture must provide a physical barrier separating this intake point from the chemical processing zones deeper inside. The specimen then moves to the surgical grossing and cytology processing areas. This is the peak biological hazard zone. Technicians here handle fresh, unfixed tissue masses. These specimens routinely contain large, uncontrolled collections of blood and other infectious fluids. The WHO mandates that this exact space must be treated structurally as a strict infection control area. To operate safely, technicians process the tissue inside specialized, partially enclosed glass cabinets. These stations feature integrated ventilation systems that actively pull dangerous particulate matter away from the operator's face and through a top exhaust unit. Architectural protections are a baseline, but they only function when paired with strict adherence to universal precautions and personal protective equipment. Right as the lab is managing severe biological risks, the workflow introduces its first major chemical threat, formalin. Physical walls and targeted mechanical ventilation serve as the primary defense against biological hazards during this initial processing phase. Formalin is essential for fixing biological tissue to stop degradation, but its use introduces a highly toxic chemical hazard into the room. Aldehyde compounds pose severe inhalation hazards to staff and can cause direct, permanent damage to skin and eyes upon contact. The WHO relies on a strict classification system to determine the necessary operational response to any chemical spill in this zone. A minor spill is defined as under 100 milliliters of 10% neutral buffered formalin. This requires immediate cold water cleanup by trained laboratory personnel. A major spill is triggered by over 100 milliliters of highly concentrated 37% formaldehyde, or over 500 milliliters of the 10% solution onto a surface. The mandated response for a major spill is absolute. Staff must evacuate the location entirely and activate external biosafety protocols. Architectural ventilation buys time, but strict operational protocols are required to prevent severe environmental and personnel contamination during a chemical crisis. Tracking the workflow on the blueprint, the tissue moves out of grossing and into the intermediate embedding and sectioning room. In this intermediate zone, the tissue is stabilized in wax and cut into microscopic sections. This stage requires highly specific precision equipment to process the stabilized tissue blocks. From there, the sections move to the next major node on the blueprint, the staining area. This stage introduces new, volatile chemical hazards. Technicians use xylene and methanol to stain the cellular structures. Unlike the grossing zone, this area requires specialized fume hoods and uniquely targeted ventilation specifically engineered to handle volatile organics. Automated staining equipment is integrated here to handle these specific chemicals safely and consistently, minimizing direct human exposure. As the biological risk of the tissue decreases, the chemical risk to the staff peaks, requiring distinct, customized architectural segregation. Populating these carefully engineered zones with essential diagnostic equipment requires highly strategic procurement. Advanced laboratory machines have hidden environmental dependencies. They are engineered assuming constant voltage, uninterrupted power, and stable ambient humidity. Every machine operates on an equipment life cycle. The initial purchase price is only a fraction of the total operational cost. A laboratory's long-term viability is dictated by two diverging paths of maintenance. The first is inspection and preventative maintenance, or IPM. These are proactive, scheduled activities, like calibration and cleaning, designed to extend device life. The second is corrective maintenance. This is the unscheduled, reactive effort to restore physical integrity only after a machine has completely failed. This dynamic explains why donated equipment in resource-limited settings often becomes a liability if it arrives without a funded service contract or specialized training. The local biomedical engineer serves a critical role here, performing preventative inspections and optimizing existing resources to keep the hardware running. A single failed machine, due to a lack of maintenance, creates a bottleneck that breaks the entire unidirectional workflow pipeline. Capital expenditure on infrastructure is wasted without a fully funded, structured maintenance and lifecycle management plan. Looking back at the finalized WHO structural layout, we can see how the individual zones form a cohesive, engineered pipeline. Tracing the full path of a specimen from reception to staining, the workflow moves downward and across. It never doubles back on itself. By minimizing the crossing of paths, the architecture physically separates each stage, removing the structural opportunities for specimen cross-contamination. Physical safety is achieved by matching specific architectural features, like heavy HVAC extraction, directly to the nodes where specific hazards are introduced. The pipeline concludes at two final nodes: the clean environment for reporting and archiving, and the highly regulated waste management area. Protecting the public and the local water supply relies entirely on the proper, safe disposal of the toxic chemical wastes generated throughout this process. The final, successful output of this massive infrastructure investment is a safely archived piece of actionable medical data. A high-functioning diagnostic lab is not simply bought. It is achieved through the rigorous, uncompromising integration of spatial workflow, hazard segregation, and proactive lifecycle management.